The world is remembering Pope Emeritus Benedict XVI today. The historic leader of the Catholic Church passed away overnight at age 95. Fred Fleitz is a senior fellow at America First Policy Institute's Center for American Security. He's also former National Security Council Chief of Staff. He joins us now. Fred, talk to us about Pope Benedict's legacy on the world stage.
Well, Jillian, as a conservative Catholic, I'm really going to miss him. He was a hero for me. He was someone who didn't just defend the faith. He defended what the Catholic Church stood for, its foundation. But in particular, he was very concerned about aggressive secularism in American society, which no longer tolerates religious voices. And he said this in 2010, and we can really see this today. Think about the confirmation hearing of Amy Coney Barrett when Senator Dianne Feinstein said that she didn't think that the judge would be qualified to be a Supreme Court justice because of her conservative Catholic faith. This is something that Pope Benedict fought for throughout his life, against relativism, against secularism that is undermining the religious foundation, not just of the Catholic Church, but of the whole world.
He was an important leader on the world stage. I was at the White House. I worked at the White House back in 2008 when he came to visit President George W. Bush. And it was amazing at the time to see the United States government embrace him as if, not just as a religious leader, but as a head of state, a foreign head of state.
Leon Panetta met with him one time. Panetta is a conservative Catholic. And when he met with him, the Pope said to him, "Thank you for keeping the world safe." I mean, this is a man who got it. He got the role of the United States in the world. He understood the difference between good and evil. His papacy was far too short. We know that he made some mistakes. He was only human, but he's someone that we will really miss.
We're looking at a live picture right now outside Vatican Square for our viewers at home. Fred, while I have you here, I want to make sure I ask you about the news of the day in Ukraine. Ukrainians overnight were bombarded with another round of Russian missiles on this New Year's Eve day.
We're going to have a really difficult year in 2023 as Russia continues the missile bombardment, as Ukraine employs greater numbers of missiles and sophisticated systems that the Russians may find provocative. We're going to have a new Republican House that's going to be talking to the Biden administration about accountability for the military aid we're giving. Most Republicans support Ukraine. They want Ukraine to win, but they're also concerned that there seems to be no effort to end this war. There's no serious effort by the Russians, by Ukraine, or the United States in finding a way to get at least an organic ceasefire, to try to find a way to stop the fight and get to peace. I think by mid-2023, there will be intense pressure by Republicans and Democrats in Congress on the administration to do that.
You're one of the national security thinkers who has lent their voice to criticism on both sides of both Zelensky and Putin for not being, I don't want to put words in your mouth, invested in or entirely serious about a peace settlement as an end to this war.
I hate to criticize Zelensky. I understand why the Ukrainian people and Zelensky do not want to enter peace talks. They don't trust Putin. They have good reason not to trust him. I think Zelensky would like to fight to the end, and I think eventually, if we gave Zelensky the weapons he needs, Ukraine would eventually win. I'm just worried that if this goes on for years and years, it'll be quite a Pyrrhic victory. There'll be nothing left in Ukraine. I think there has to be another option than simply arming Ukraine to the teeth until the point that Russia's forced to withdraw, because these continuing missile assaults on Ukraine, I think, are doing devastating damage. And think about what's going to happen as the winter rolls on with these missile attacks.
While the U.S. continues to cut checks for the Ukrainians, one of our sort of most dangerous adversaries right now, the Iranian regime, is beefing up their support of Russia. Take a look at this. This is an incomplete list of some of the weapons they're supplying them with. It includes drones that explode on impact, kamikaze drones that carry small warheads, short-range ballistic missiles. Also, the Biden administration claiming this week that Iranian personnel are actually on the ground physically inside Crimea now.
The fact that Russia is relying on Iran for weapons and that Russia's not providing weapons to Iran for their purposes shows how desperate Russia is. And Russia's also turned to North Korea for weapons. They're not getting the weapons from China, which I think is a good sign and a relief. But this just shows that the government in Tehran, the theocracy, this is a thugocracy. This is an evil regime that looks for opportunity wherever they can get it. They have no moral scruples. if there's any good thing coming out of this, I think it will finally get the Biden administration to abandon its extremely ill-advised effort to revive the terrible 2015 nuclear deal with Iran. We should not be giving Iran a new deal with billions of dollars in aid that it will spend on weapons and destabilizing the region.
Fred, we got to leave it there, but could talk to you all afternoon. Thanks so much.
Good to be here.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.